culture nationwide is that the Greek organizations now are being called out for the things and the sins of the past and the sins of the present as well.
And maybe appropriately so. I mean,
Yeah,
we haven't always
absolutely.
been angels. I mean, this has been a nice plug for Greek life, saying that we're developing leaders and all that, but that wasn't always historically true. And we've got some serious black eyes on our record.
Yeah, and to this day, it's still not true to the fullest extent, which is unfortunate because the opportunity that this sort of that these organizations can have for men in college and women in college and anybody that this organization can serve is ripe for the taking.
Yeah, I mean, I think an appropriate analogy might be, akin to like surgery. Like 1 in 10,000 people gets an infection in surgery, and that's not a reason not to go have surgery and live a better life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
like think about how many millions of college students are in the Greek system and pass through the Greek system, over time. And yet we have these outliers of like, this drunken guy fell off the stairs and, hurt himself and somebody else along the way. It's like, yeah, but what about all the other ones that are like giving back to society and contributing to charity and leading companies when they graduate because of the skills they learned? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just had to drop that.
No, absolutely. Yeah, so with us being called out as a system as a whole, it's created some groups to be antagonistic towards their host institutions, and there's a lot of tension between the host institutions and some of these organizations right now, which has been unfortunate. And the Greek system as a whole needs to change, and it needs to be better so that we don't have those outlier situations. And it's going to take a lot of cultural change to get there.
So, if you're listening and you're a parent, for example, of a teenager, and you're considering whether or not you push this person, your young teenager, into joining a campus organization, what's a pitch for what somebody can do in college? Let's take it out of the Greek lens for a second, because you and I obviously have a slanted view that it's very beneficial and it is what you make of it. But what else can people get involved in college that will develop leadership habits?
My number one thing that I've been telling relatives, siblings of friends that are going to college is to get involved in something. Find something that you're passionate about, or maybe something that you're not passionate about that you think is interesting, and go be involved in it. I think that the best way for you to develop is to find things outside of the classroom that are going to help you gain a broader world perspective, or be able to tighten up some of those hard skills in leadership, intellectual, whatever those areas of development might be.
It's probably just a good lesson for life in general, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Is your new job allowing you to take on many endeavors that are outside of the things? I know you travel a lot too. Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
Yeah, I live out of my car, so it's a little bit challenging to find those opportunities. I just recently bought a guitar, so I'm trying to learn guitar. That's been a nice outlet for me to just shut everything off and throw myself into something that I don't know, but I was interested in, and trying to get better and grow with that every day.
I think it's people go through life transitions at any stage, not just college, right? And so you went from hair on fire all over the campus, doing working 4 jobs and doing an internship and all sorts of stuff, to now you're just driving up and down the West Coast and in your car, literally living out of your car. With no home base. How do you find time for fun and frivolity and habits? When do you play this guitar?
Right.
Hopefully you're not steering with your knees.
Right. It's interesting. The job is great because I get to frame it in this way. The pros of the job are I get to work on something that I'm very passionate about. I get to make my own schedule. I get to consult and be creative and find ways to help these chapters be the best they can be. The con is I'm on pretty much 24/7. Even if I'm just hanging out with someone to try to build a relationship, I'm still building a relationship to what end, to what impact, right? And it's always, I am, to some of these people, the ideal SIGEP. So I always have to embody that. And I'm always, even if I'm not wearing a suit, I still have that suit in the back of my head that I'm wearing. But for me, I've struggled, because I'm sure you know this, Jake, and having known me, I do take on a lot, and I'm okay throwing myself into this massive work schedule and not setting aside time for myself. But
it really fuels you.
Yeah, it does. But I found that I'm not 100% effective if I don't pay myself first. So I'm starting to set those boundaries and figure out what are the ways in which I can set time aside for myself every day. And for me right now, that's playing 30 minutes to an hour of guitar every day. And that's what's been fulfilling for me. But even then, I still have times like in between meetings where I'll just shut off and maybe go on a walk around a campus or go get a bite to eat and just turn my laptop off for a little bit and just have time to myself.
As people gasp when you say that, like,
right.
Turn my phone and my laptop off. How can we do that?
Yeah.
And I think that's good instruction for anybody who's walking the earth, because we all need to take time. How do you set those limits? Because you and I have had that conversation before about how to set limits. How are you setting limits? What's a practical way for somebody listening to set limits in one's own life when it all seems like a number one priority all the time?
Yeah. For me, I typically go past my limits, realize I've gone past my limits, and then put myself in check again.
That's honest.
Yeah, but that's been an ineffective way to have stability with my boundaries. What I've been lucky with is that I have 12 other people that are working the same job as me in a different region in the country, and they hold me accountable to it because they see it as well that I can sometimes work too much. So I have a good group of people that have my back and remind me of it. My boss always reminds me of it as well. Like, what are you doing this week for yourself? That's always one of the first questions he asks. So it's been nice to have that support around me.
That's great to know they're not running you into the ground from the top also. I'm sure that's a lesson that you translate to your I guess you'd say your followers who are the members of those chapters. Are they listening? Are they paying attention? Are you helping them become mentally well as well?
Trying to. That was a big learning lesson learned for me, was that I need to start with not work with a lot of these members of the chapters that I'm working with, because they always have a lot going on. They always do. And if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you got to start with security, food, water. Then you move up to, I don't know exactly how the pyramid moves up.
Yeah, so it goes basic needs, which is your food and water, and then it goes safety and security, which would be your shelter, and hopefully it's a safe one, like in a good neighborhood. And then love and belonging. Then esteem needs, which is really where college is. College is esteem needs. And then self-actualization is at the top. Right.
So as I'm meeting with these people, if they are not doing well mentally, I can't get to that level 4 in Maslow's hierarchy. I have to work my way up there, and I've been very intentional about doing that and making sure that the same support that I'm getting, I'm trying to pass that along to people, because I've been grateful for it. I've seen how positively it's affected me, and I want to make sure that the people that are around me, I'm giving that same intention to them.
What do you do for people who are struggling and don't have a good boss? For example, you're in that situation as you're sort of the boss, and there's certainly leadership hierarchies. What about the underling, who's like, I don't think I'm going to make it, I'm failing these classes, whatever. Do you ever have those conversations? And if so, what's your feedback?
The most effective way that I've dealt with that is to, one, be a mentor, be there for someone. Simply by being there for someone, I think, already unlocks some sort of wellness for another. But also to help them, because I'm only in this role for 1 year. To set someone up for sustainable success, I think you need to help them find other mentors. And that's a really valuable thing, that every time I come and visit home or I come and visit Reno after being away, I'm reminded of how lucky I am to have so many great people in my life that are challenging me, pushing me to be the best I can be, and also supporting me along the way. So we talk about this concept of have a board of directors for yourself. Every company has a board of directors. It has people that are helping set the vision and guide it along a path. Every person needs a board of directors, needs someone that they can talk to help them be guided along the way, so that they're not just going through life by themselves and making mistakes along the way. It's okay to make mistakes, but if you can avoid some of those and learn before you make those, it's a lot more valuable than making every single mistake yourself.
How does an 18 or 19-year-old find a board of directors?
For me, I was very lucky having joined a chapter that had a fraternity that had so many mentors already lined up. But just ask someone. If there's someone in your life that you've identified that you think would be great to learn from, or that they embody some sort of characteristic that you want to be or you aspire to be, then ask them. Ask them to teach you. Ask them to mentor you. Most people will be grateful for the opportunity to teach others.
That's true, by the way. I've done it. I've done it for others, and I've asked, and people have responded. So it is true. So I want to echo that and validate it. I guess in closing, because we're running up on time here a little bit, what's one thing that you would say to the listening audience? We've spent a lot of time talking about, fraternity, college, leadership. What's one thing you would leave people with that's maybe generally applicable that you've learned over the last 6 months, maybe in your travels, that really surprised you, that you didn't expect, because you had a lot of leadership under your belt and you're a super smart dude and you're very self-aware and you work really hard and you expose yourself to a lot of things. What has surprised you the most that people could take away from this that maybe they won't get anywhere else?
I think of the times that I was effective during college and times that I was ineffective during college. And the times that I was ineffective during college is when I had weaknesses that I did not recognize, did not get feedback for, and continued to fall into those pits. What I learned towards the end of college that I wish I would have learned at the start of it is to read and to listen. So one of the books that I started reading was How to Win Friends and Influence People, and that would dramatically change one of my weaknesses that was communication. And it's something that I'll always be working on. But from there, I realized there were so many things that I was doing well that the book talks about, but then there were a lot of areas of opportunity that I was not capitalizing on and I was not recognizing because I had never gotten that feedback. Not a lot of people are willing to give feedback. And
I think not a lot of people are willing to receive it either. Because like you just said, you realize in the book there's a lot of areas you were doing really well in, and I think our confirmation bias tends to gravitate to those and go, yeah, look how awesome I am. Norman Vincent Peale told me so.
Yeah,
it's like Norman Vincent Peale also told you to look at these other things.
Right.
So is the takeaway that people should be humble and receive feedback?
Yeah. Well, feedback is scary.
It's
scared to be confronted with things you're not good at. I remember.
Well, it means you got to let go of what you think you know.
Yeah, right. And I remember when I was reading that book, it was cool to read the things that I was already doing well, but I remember being very frustrated reading the things that I did not do well, trying to go out and do them well and failing. And then having to come back, read the book over, and try and learn again what I did wrong, and then going out and failing, and then coming back, having to read it. It was a very frustrating time, and every time I read a new book that will hopefully expose me to areas of opportunity for myself, I continue to be frustrated, but that failure is growth. But it's not just reading. I don't want to just boil it down to books. It's also that board of directors and having
podcasts.
People.
Always
Yeah.
podcasts.
Podcasts too.
Podcasts.
Yeah, listening, and listening to those. If a podcast is your board of directors, great. Whatever you have to do to get the best feedback to improve and be willing to improve is, I think, the best thing you can do, especially during these developmental years.
That's super good, and I don't want to drag it out. That was a great way to end the show. Thank you very much for making time. I know you're only in town for a few days before you hit the road again. I'm surprised. I thought it was a 2-year gig, but it's 1.
1 year, yeah.
Huh, fascinating. Well, thanks. Congratulations on the success. I know you just accepted a new job, too. That's pretty sweet. And if you're listening to this around the holidays, happy holidays, because we're recording it in December. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everybody. On behalf of the Noggin Notes team and the Zephyr Wellness family, we wish you all great mental wellness. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.